Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Caboose bringing you another Spider-Man PS4 video, and today what we're going to be talking about is the Q&A that went down just a few days ago between Bryan Intihar and Game Informer for the Game Informer finale of their coverage. Now, before we jump into this, I wanted to ask you guys, of course, if you could leave a like rating on the video as it shows your support, and I would really appreciate it. So if you could leave a like, that would be awesome. And with that said, well, let's just jump right into this. So like I said, creative director over at Insomniac did a Q&A with Game Informer, in which Game Informer rallied a bunch of questions from us, the fans, of course, and asked them to Bryan, and we actually got some pretty definitive answers, as well as some insight about some stuff we may have not known about before. So let's get into this. The first thing that I want to talk about is a question that pretty much everyone was asking, and something that I feel needed to be addressed because people were weirdly going crazy about it, and that was about fall damage in the game. It's been now confirmed by Bryan during this Q&A that fall damage will not be in Spider-Man PS4. And to be honest, in my opinion, I never found this to be a big deal. It's like, it was whatever to me, you know, if there was fall damage, cool, I understand. If there isn't, cool, I understand. You know, you're Spider-Man. Let us live it out a little and feel like a superhero. But Bryan's explanation of it was actually really good. Basically, what he said was he didn't want to punish players for, you know, landing on the ground. Like, let's say you saw a crime that was happening, you know, like a general crime, something that you can obviously have the option to do, and you wanted to go do it, but you're really high up for some reason. You drop all the way down to get to it, and you end up taking some fall damage, and boom, you're going into this fight with less health than you would. And essentially, he was trying to say as well that he didn't want to punish players that maybe aren't going to be extremely used to the swinging and are going to have times where they just drop to the ground because they're not entirely sure what to do. He didn't want to punish those players, you know, and just be like, boom, you're dead. You just took a bunch of fall damage, you know, because it can be really frustrating for some of those new players. So again, I totally understand this choice, and I really didn't care too much about this feature before, but I like that Bryan wanted to go in depth and explain why they decided to make this decision. Next up, I wanted to talk about the alternate suits in Spider-Man PS4 and how we actually now know how we're going to be able to switch between them in-game. Now, when the Iron Spider suit trailer came out, everyone was assuming that the whole usage of the phone was going to be how it was done, but some people did miss that there was some text in that trailer that said that this was specifically for the trailer, and that's not actually how it's going to be in the game. I'm paraphrasing, but it basically said that with the text. So everyone was like, okay, well, how are we going to be able to switch between alternate costumes? And Bryan basically said it's as simple as going to the pause menu, and there's going to be a little drop down for alternate suits, and you'll be able to switch it through there. And I find that to be really cool, and it looks like it's actually going to be something that you can just do on the fly. So you can be like mid-swing in your advanced suit, and you're like, you know what, I want to use the Spider-Punk outfit now, and you can just hit that pause button, go to that option, switch, unpause, and boom, you're in the Spider-Punk outfit. I find that to be really cool. You know, again, I was assuming that it would be something you'd have to do through the main menu, and I thought, you know, maybe that would be a little tedious, you know, to be able to switch suits. We have to go all the way back to the main menu and go through all those loading screens and this and that and the other. But no, it's going to be something that is on the fly, and that's awesome. Now, going off this conversation of alternate costumes, though, it was also mentioned and asked to Bryan about suit damage and whether or not we would see, you know, like rips and tears and damage in Spidey's suit in this game. And it's mentioned here in what we all kind of assumed, that it would be based on the story mode. So when you go through the story, there will be parts and moments where the suit does get damaged, and this is actually something that will apply to any alternate costume that you're wearing, which is why they wanted it to be important that all the alternate costumes run and work in cutscenes as well. So all the suit damage that you're going to get in this game will apply to any alternate costume that you're wearing at the time. But again, suit damage is specific to the position you are in the story mode. It's not something that is going to happen when you are fighting random thugs or take any damage that is outside of the actual story. So in a position in the story, if the suit takes some damage, you will see that, and that is the only time where you will see that. And again, it applies to all the alternate suits, which I think is super awesome. Now, moving on, it was also asked by Game Informer to Bryan about the day-night cycle and why Insomniac decided to not include this in Spider-Man PS4, and Bryan elaborated on this in that, again, this is a story game, and they wanted to tell an important story, so if you have a day-night cycle, then you really have to factor in all those specifics, but there are times in the story where it needs to be night, or it needs to be rainy, because it's something that relates to the game's story. But another thing that I found really awesome that was mentioned here, and this was something that I was crossing my fingers for when I first talked about this day-night cycle, and that was that Bryan said when you beat the game, you'll have the option to be swinging out at nighttime, in the rain, whether there's, with a sunset and all that stuff. So that is really awesome to hear, because I did want to have that option available. I didn't want to beat the game and then forever be swinging in the daytime, because it was also talked about photo mode, and one thing that a lot of people are going to want to mess around with in Spider-Man PS4 is photo mode, and we obviously don't just want to take awesome pics of Spidey in the daytime. We want to see him at night, or we want to see him when there's a sunset or when there's rain, because the graphics in this game look incredible, and being able to mess around with photo mode and do anything we want with the weather or with the day-night, being able to change between those is really, really cool, and I'm happy to hear that once we beat the game, we'll have the option to switch between those. In terms of other things that I can take away from this massive Q&A, it wasn't completely shut down that we would get a black suit in Spider-Man PS4. Now again, it's emphasized that there are no symbiotes in Spider-Man PS4, but you guys were actually quick to mention when I had originally talked about this, that Spidey does have his own homemade black suit that doesn't have a symbiote or anything like that. So there's a chance. Bryan just said, there could be, there couldn't be. We got to get the game in our hands and be able to find out then. So, hey, I'm still holding out hope. I have a little bit of optimism now, hearing that Bryan didn't completely shut this down. So maybe there is a chance that we get that black suit, but obviously, it's not the symbiote suit. It's just the actual homemade black suit that looks like the symbiote suit. New Game Plus was also mentioned to Bryan, and he completely dodged this question. He said that, they're not ready to answer that, so I totally understand, maybe they're still working on this, or they're working on their own version of it, so we'll have to wait and see if we do get a New Game Plus, but I really hope we do, because New Game Plus, for me at least, it really elevates the single-player kind of, replayability. We always want to go back in, but having the option of New Game Plus where we can go back in, let's say, with all the gadgets that we've already unlocked available to us, or, playing on a bit of a higher difficulty where we have to be a little more aware of every situation that we go into, or we take a little bit more damage or something like that, that would be really cool. So here's hoping that we do get a New Game Plus, because for me, with the Batman Arkham games especially, that's something that always brings me back and makes me want to play through the single player again and again. And then lastly, he talked a little bit about E3 and their plans for E3. Game Informer asked him, hey, are we going to be seeing some new stuff? Is there going to be new footage for us to see? And Bryan didn't specifically answer that, but he basically hinted at it in saying, it would be pretty disappointing if we would see the gameplay that we've already seen before. So he's basically hinting yeah, Insomniac's going to be at E3 with Spider-Man PS4, and we're going to see some new stuff. So I cannot wait for that. He was also asked about the collector's edition statue and whether or not that would be revealed at E3, and he did confirm that that is not the case. So I'm assuming now San Diego Comic-Con is the place for that to happen, where we will get that collector's edition revealed, because it does say, wrapped around it in police tape, that it would be revealed in summer of 2018. And then it's also mentioned in that pre-order bonus trailer that there is a suit that's going to be revealed in July. So San Diego Comic-Con is in July, Spider-Man being this huge comic book character. I'm assuming either Insomniac is going to show up during the Marvel Games panel and show off some stuff, or they're going to have their own panel for Spider-Man PS4 in which we get the reveal of that collector's edition statue and the final suit in the pre-order bonus suit pack for the game. But that's it. That's the news roundup that I have for you guys. If you want to watch the full Q&A, the link for it is going to be in the description. It's so awesome to hear Bryan's passion for this character and for this game and all the work that Insomniac is putting into it. September 7th cannot get here quick enough, but I'm so glad that we're not going to be getting a news drought like we did before. These next couple of months leading up to the game's release, we're going to get a ton of information about it, and it's going to go by so quick, you guys won't even believe it. September 7th is going to get here super fast. I'm telling you, trust me. But with that said, I kick it to you guys. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments section below. What do you think about all this information? Are you excited about it? I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm Caboose, and once again, if you could leave a like rating on the video, it shows your support, and I would really appreciate it. And you can click on screen to make your way to one of the other videos on the channel, or you can click my logo to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and like me on Facebook. Those links are in the description. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a comment if you have an opinion, and subscribe if you're new. See you guys later.